Okay, so today we're going to look at something a little bit different.
Okay.
We're going to be diving into Demonia Bangkok,
Right.
which, if that name doesn't give it away,
Yeah.
is a BDSM and fetish club in Thailand.
Interesting.
So kind of an interesting contrast, right?
Yes, definitely.
We're looking at a place that you wouldn't necessarily think is on the cutting edge of this type of
subculture.
Subculture. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what we're going to be looking at is their website.
Okay.
So Demonia Bangkok, the original BDSM and fetish club in Bangkok.
All right.
So they build themselves as a stylish and modern club for like-minded people.
Interesting.
And that's what I think is kind of fascinating, is this sort of like juxtaposition between like this very modern kind of like sleek and stylish and this very specific
niche
community.
So what do you see right off the bat as being sort of like, well, I think it's really interesting how they try to thread that needle between being edgy and being welcoming.
Right.
Because you wouldn't necessarily think of a BDSM club as being a place where you feel comfortable walking in for the first time.
Yeah, totally.
But they seem to be making a real effort to project that kind of vibe.
Totally. And they also say that they're open to like men, women, and couples, both Thai and foreign.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So they're really kind of like casting this wide net.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that speaks to what you're saying about trying to be both inclusive, but also kind of sophisticated, because they're appealing to this international crowd as well.
Totally. And even going beyond that, like in terms of inclusivity, they also say that newcomers are welcome to just observe.
Right.
And they use this phrase, no pressure to participate.
Interesting how that works. Like, how does that...
I mean, how does that work?
In practice, right? Yeah.
Because, like, on the one hand, it makes it much more approachable.
Sure.
Right.
Less intimidating.
Less intimidating, for people who are maybe BDSM curious.
Totally.
But haven't really experienced it firsthand. But, like, on the other hand, if it's a space designed for these, like, very intense interactions and experiences.
Right. Is it truly possible to just sort of, like... sit back and be a
just watch
completely passive observer?
And like, what's that dynamic like?
Totally.
Between the people who are participating and the people who are just
watching. Yeah, that's a really interesting question.
Totally. And you know, they also talk a lot about privacy and discretion. Which I think is also really interesting. Especially given, you know, we're talking about Thailand.
Right.
And they go so far as to say, like, we have frosted glass on our playrooms, and our walls are soundproofed.
It makes sense, though, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because they are operating in a, you know, a society that might not be totally open to this kind of thing.
Right. It's not Amsterdam.
Exactly.
So they have to be very careful about how they navigate the legalities and the social implications. And I think this kind of careful navigation is also evident in how they, like, really try to differentiate themselves from anything that could be considered illegal.
Right.
And one thing that really stood out to me on the website was this statement, domination is not prostitution.
Interesting.
It was like very jarring and very like in your face.
Yeah.
But I also think it's kind of a powerful statement.
I think so too.
In a way, because they're really trying to draw a line
in
the sand and say, like, this is
what we're about.
This is what we're about.
This is what we're not.
Exactly. And I think it speaks to their commitment to ethical boundaries and consent.
Right. Exactly. Because those are cornerstones of the BDSM community.
Yeah.
And I think that's a way of, like, reclaiming the narrative.
Totally.
Defining what their space is really about.
Totally. And then there's this other thing that I thought was kind of interesting on the website, which was that they have a Telegram group.
Oh, interesting.
That you can join for exclusive content and, like, direct communication.
What do you think
what is I don't
share there?
Yeah.
What could that content be?
Yeah, like, what is exclusive content?
I mean, it could be anything from, like, event announcements to, like, you know, discussions on specific BDSM practices, or maybe even, like, educational resources or something.
Right.
I think it's a smart move, though.
Yeah.
Because it creates this sense of
community.
Community, and it gives you this, like, deeper level of engagement for people who are genuinely interested.
So it seems like, you know, overall what we're seeing here is that Demonia is presenting this very curated image of BDSM, right?
Right.
It's modern, it's stylish, it's discreet, and most importantly, I think, ethical.
Yeah.
And I think
that's key.
It makes you think about how perceptions of BDSM might be evolving even in a place like Thailand, which is, a traditionally conservative society.
Absolutely.
So I guess I'm curious to hear what you think.
Yeah.
Like, what does the existence of a place like Demonia say about Bangkok and its evolving social landscape?
Well, I think it definitely suggests that there's a growing openness to alternative lifestyles. And I think it also shows that people are becoming more comfortable exploring different aspects of their sexuality. And I think that's really a positive development.
Totally.
Because it means that people are feeling more empowered to be themselves.
For sure.
And to express themselves in ways that they might not have felt comfortable doing before.
Totally. And I think what's really interesting is that Demonia seems to be almost like a catalyst for this kind of social change.
Yeah.
Because they're not just providing a space for people to explore BDSM. They're also actively promoting this idea of
openness and acceptance.
Openness, acceptance, and ethical behavior within the BDSM community.
Yeah. And I think that's really important because it helps to break down the stigma that's often associated with BDSM.
And I think it makes it more accessible to people who might be curious about it but are afraid of the negative connotations.
Totally.
So I think it's a really fascinating example of how a subculture can kind of push the boundaries of social norms and create positive change. So I don't know. It's really interesting to think about.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm curious to see how things develop.
Yeah, me too.
In the future.
Absolutely.
With Demonia and with the BDSM scene in Bangkok in general.
For sure.
So, I think that's a good place to wrap it up for today.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
It's good.
Into Demonia Bangkok.
Definitely.
And
yeah,
we'll see you next time.
See you later.
For another deep dive.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.